Hi, this is Ann McNeil and Ione McNeil, welcoming you to another episode of My Investing Story. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we are very excited to continue to bring you another very exciting episode as we share another special guest that comes on and share their investing story. So hashtag my investing story. We want to encourage all of you to comment, like, and share the show, but especially listen in and let us hear from you with your questions. Well, let's get right into who we are and what we do. All right. Ione and I are volunteers with Better Investing. Better Investing is a not-for-profit 501c3 investing organization that has helped over 5 million investors, helping investors through investment educational tools that help us learn how to better help you learn how to invest. And so with that, we hold educational seminars, workshops, of course, right now online. But if you are interested in learning more about this awesome this organization, you can go to betterinvesting.org. We are not day traders. We're not stockbrokers. We're not giving any kind of financial tips or advice. We are very simply providing investment education to help empower regular people who have regular stories to start investing right where they are. But a little bit about our guest tonight. Mr. Matthew Green is a young investor of approximately 5 years. He has started his own investment journey, and he'll tell you a little bit about his journey by enrolling in the University of Jamaica. And there he began to realize the power of investing from some classes that he took dealing with financial management. But as we bring Matthew on to share his story, he will also share with you a little about his own investment club, which we talked a little earlier about his involvement in the last few years in a club that's a better investing club that he's now a part of. So with that backstory, let me now introduce you to my co-host, Miss Ione McNeil, the baby billionaire. Good evening, Ione. How are you today?
Good evening. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Just a little louder, Ione. It's kind of hard to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Matthew,
Hi, Emily. Hello, everyone.
hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. How have you been doing with the pandemic?
It's been good. It's been interesting times. It's allowed me, I guess, to refocus on the things that are important to me. Spending time with family. Of course, some family, we have to meet via Zoom, but yeah, it's been good.
Okay, cool. So, you're originally born in Jamaica, correct?
Yes, I am originally born in Jamaica. I'm actually in Jamaica right now.
Oh, wow. Very cool. I didn't know. I thought you was like in Broward or something like that.
Now, I do live in Broward, but I am spending some time in Jamaica with family.
Okay, excellent. So I'm glad that you have good connection and we're able to talk this evening. So
Right.
one of my first questions, and I know we have Danica is listening in live. I know she connected you and I'm really excited to talk to you tonight because are you the youngest member in your investment club?
Yes, I am, in fact, the youngest member of my club.
Okay, and what's the name of your investment club?
So the name of my investment club is the Agbar Investment Club, and
Okay.
we've been around for about 25 years now.
Yes,
About
I think so. Yeah. At the Akbar Investment Club actually placed first in our investment club competition this past year, earlier this year, I should say.
Right.
Every year, the Better Investing South Florida chapter in January has a competition among the better investing investment clubs. And Akbar placed first. It's not the first time Akbar has placed first, but in 2020, you all have placed first again. So I'm very aware of the club. Just every year, their portfolio being submitted as a part of the competition. And you all have been growing, and it's been wonderful to learn different portfolio management tips and tricks by being able to be a part of that portfolio review process. Um, have you ever sat in on one of the portfolio review sessions that the South Florida chapter has had?
No, unfortunately, I've never really been able to, but I guess now I have more time on my hands. I'll definitely be able to.
And maybe in 2021 we may do it virtually, so maybe you could log on and see, because it's great. We usually have anywhere between 5 and 10 clubs at the least
Right,
submit their portfolios. And so we don't just rank based on the amount of money, but based on balance, um, diversity, exposure to all the different industries, and then rate of return. So, and then of course that's hosted by Phil Keating, who was a founding member of the Better Investing South Florida chapter about 34 years ago. So
Oh
he's
wow.
always a great wealth of knowledge. He's also a CFA. So it would be really cool if you come next time to be able to just pick his brain.
No, I'll definitely make an effort to. I've I guess kind of read through the printout, at the end. Like I've read
Oh,
through,
yes, yes, yes.
not really been able to attend.
Okay, cool. So the cool thing about you being from Jamaica is that our last guest, Yvonne McNaughton, was from Jamaica. You were on, you heard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you what I asked her, which was, what was your earliest memory of money growing up as a child? Was it talked about in your home? Did you go out to work for it? Did you do chores for it? Just kind of talk to us about your earliest relationship with money.
All right. So I can't, remember like a specific memory, but in my household, like we do discuss finances a lot. Like my mom is very big on saving, and she's always encouraged me to save. So when I think back to my childhood, like I remember being given lunch money. Like my chores, I wasn't paid for my chores. I just kind of had to I had to do them.
Have to do them. Yep.
There was no allowance or anything, so it'd really just be my lunch money. So I'd really just save my lunch money, and I guess as a kid, I was very focused on money because I remember ironing my money that I had in my wallet at the end of each week. So
Wow, clean boy.
I took pride in it.
Of course.
So
Wow.
thinking back, like I do remember having this green piggy bank that I would always aim to stuff. And, I had it since I was a kid. But as I got older, that piggy bank came, it became more important to me. So I would save if there's my parents and I were traveling, then I would empty the piggy bank, and then that would be my spending money when I travel to the US.
Right, right. Oh, wow. So you went all through school in Jamaica, correct?
Right, right. I moved to the US in 2017 to pursue my master's.
Okay, excellent. And this is a great question because we have a lot of international students that are listening to the show, and they're interested in investing, but sometimes, based on citizenship, they feel like they have to wait, or they get introduced to Robinhood, the app, and try it that way. So when did you first hear about investing and even realize that's something you wanted to do?
So I realized about investing when I was I'd say maybe 19 or 20. So I was doing a course on financial management. And in that course, my professor kind of explained how the bank pays us very little interest on our money. But then if you go to the bank to borrow money, then you're being charged a high interest rate. So I realized how much money the bank is making on the money that I give them and the little return that I'm getting from the bank. So from there, he kind of prompted us to start our own investment journey. So my mom, my mom and dad definitely influenced my thoughts towards money. But my mom, she started saving 500 Jamaican dollars, which is like maybe like 3 or 4 US dollars each week for me as a kid. And by the time I was 20, it accumulated. So I asked her, I told her what I learned in class, and I said, "Hey, mom, would you be okay with giving me this money, and I'll go ahead and buy some stocks?" Now, she was already investing at the time, but not so heavily. Like, I always knew about it. I knew about bonds. Well, not really what they were, but I just knew that, a couple people that my mom worked with, they had bonds, but at the time, it never really meant anything to me. I'm like, I don't care, but I'd save.
Like
So
you knew the word, but you didn't really know what it meant, or.
yeah, I didn't really connect with it,
Mm-hmm.
So she gave me that money and I purchased 3 stocks. A few of them, or 3 or 4 stocks. Two, my mom and I decided on, and the other 2 were recommended by, the advisor at the bank. So that kind of kickstarted my journey into investing. And it was great for me because for a couple of years, like the Jamaican Stock Exchange has been ranked as the best stock exchange in the world. So,
Wow.
right. So, there's this one stock I had that, I mean, I didn't have a lot of money in it, but after seeing, it going from $14 to like $30, I was like, okay, I'm definitely sold on this. And realizing that, the bank only gives me cents on whatever savings I have. So what started me into investing. So I started from Jamaica. And then once I got to the US, I feel like my investing was a little more formalized.
Awesome. So when you did come over to the US for to pursue your master's, how did you get introduced to the Akbar investment group? And did you start investing in the US market before you became a member of this investment club?
No, I did not start investing in the US market at the time. When I just moved, I didn't really have credit or any history like that. So I had signed up for, I believe it was E-Trade account, and I was declined. But when I moved to the US, I moved to live with my grand aunt and my grand uncle. Now, my grand uncle, he's a long-time member of the Akbar Investment Club. So he told me about the club. Initially, I'd see him, leave on the second Saturday of each month to go to a meeting. And I'm like, where are you going,
Exactly.
Yeah, but over time, we got to talking and I told him about, my investment journey because he's also from Jamaica. So I told him about, me investing in Jamaica. And then he began to tell me a little more about like the club and setting up an investment account, because he walked me through setting up my own investment account. And then afterwards, I began going to meetings with him. So I would just go, I couldn't make it every week or, every time a meeting was
Every
held.
month? Right.
Right. Because eventually I got a job and, I had work on Saturdays, so I couldn't always go.
Okay.
Over time, I would definitely make the effort, ask my boss, can I get off early on a Saturday in order to go? And then once I started going, I started learning a lot more. And I think I officially became a member on, I think it was April of 2018. So I'm a new member.
Wow. So you've done 2 years now, April 2018.
Right.
And how long did you visit the club before they ended up letting you join?
I don't remember exactly. So officially, you have to be in attendance of 3 meetings in order to join. So I think I maybe attended maybe 3 or 4, because I don't think I applied to join immediately. So I think maybe like 3 or 4.
Okay. Now, Describe your very first meeting. Were you intimidated? Did it look and just feel like family? Was it foreign? Was it familiar? Kind of walk us through what it was like to just go to that very first meeting and sit in with your great, is it great uncle?
No, no, my granduncle. Granduncle.
Oh, grand uncle. Okay.
Right, right. So the first meeting was not at all intimidating because some of the members that were at the meeting were people that I met since I moved to the US. So
Okay.
My granduncles, two of his cousins are members of the club. So, going to the meeting, I already saw them. I was like, okay, cool. What was interesting for me though is being the youngest member of the club, because everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of our members are retirees. They've been doing this.
60, 70 plus.
They've been doing this. They've been doing this for a while, and of course, there's Danica, and since then we've had like younger members. But the first meeting, it was very welcoming. A lot of the members of the club are kind of like, friends and family. They're all like Caribbean, so it didn't feel weird for me. And I guess for me, I'm used to being around like people older than myself. In fact, I kind of enjoy being around older people because I feel like, they have a lot of knowledge to impart a lot of times. So for me, that first meeting, it was great. And, I remember looking at their portfolio and I was like, wow.
I'm glad you were honest about that. Because, I mean, it's real, It's like, oh, y'all been doing some things. Yeah.
I was impressed, because coming from my small portfolio,
Exactly.
seeing, this club, I'm like, wow,
Like putting ends together to eating steak and
right?
potatoes and drinking champagne.
In realizing, I guess, the club's portfolio and, just what they were doing, I guess in that moment, I realized the benefit of being in a club, each member contributing dues, learning together and growing as a club. Like in that instant, I definitely realized the importance of that.
Yeah, can you share roughly about how much? Let him share about roughly about how much so that the audience can get a feel for.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. He may not have permission to say that. I thought you were going to ask him how much monthly does each person contribute to the club.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Danica's in the chat, so Danica has to say yes. She's
No,
the
that's
president, so she
exactly
has to give
that's
permission.
exactly what I'm asking. How much the contribution on a monthly basis?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the monthly contribution it's about like $80 a month, but I think actually we may have lowered it to 50 and the max is 100, just so everyone's able to
Oh, okay.
contribute.
So people can put in monthly anywhere between $50 and $100 each month.
Right. I think we recently moved it to 50, but when I just joined, I think it was maybe around like 70 or 80 to 100
Okay.
each.
And at that time, even in grad school, with you seeing the power of being in a club and the fact that they had amassed so much wealth over 25 plus years, how did you feel about the $80? Was it like, oh, I can afford this, or I'm gonna make this work so that I could be in it because I can see what it turns into? How did you kind of respond to that monthly contribution amount?
I think for me, that monthly contribution, it was like, okay, so if I want my returns to grow as quick as possible, then I'm trying to contribute the max. I would contribute 100 a month. But for me, I started looking at that 100 a month as an expense, a bill that I had to pay, because I feel like when, sometimes I feel like, especially with young people, like when you have savings, I think you're more likely to spend it. But with a bill, you're like, all right, so I have to pay this bill. So, because I do like monthly budgets. So it was always as an expense, like something that I would absolutely have to do, you know, not so much an option, even though, of course, if I can't pay the dues for a month, it's, you know, it's fine. But for me, I always try to make sure I put all that extra effort to pay the dues because I see what the contribution can do. And then I think for me, especially looking at each member in the club, like how much they've contributed over the years, then I'm saying, well, in order to get to where they are, then I have to, you know, pay my way, you know? So that's definitely how I looked at it.
Excellent. So we did have a quick question in the chat. I was trying to remember the other question before Miss Ann asked her question. But one of our listeners is asking, from your perspective, what are the benefits of an investment club versus doing it on your own, and how does it work?
Okay, so I think the huge benefit of having an investment club is, well, there are other people to share in this journey with. There are people who you can bounce ideas off. And if you're building a portfolio, I think it's a lot easier to have one person, you know, if you have 12 stocks in the portfolio, then it's a lot easier to have, you know, each person watch a stock than having 12 stocks that you have to constantly, you know, pay attention to when earnings report come out, you know, if their trends are changing, things like that. And I think also, especially being in the Akbar Investment Club with, you know, who've been around for 25 years, like they've seen a whole lot. Like I'm 25, so you know, they've been investing for this
for as long as you've been alive. Exactly.
And,
successfully too.
Right. You know, they've seen different trends in the market. You know, they have a better understanding of the market. So I think in being in an investment club, there are other people who you can learn with, share your ideas with. And I think there is a lot of power in being a team, you know, being a group, you know, whereas I would be able to contribute only 100 a month. If 10 of us are contributing 100 a month, then we're investing $1,000, you know, which
each month.
Right, each month, you know. So I think that's a lot better than just doing it on your own. And I think with the club, you know, it's also like a social circle also, you know, because at the end of the meeting, you know, we'll have conversations, we'll talk about politics, we'll talk about, you know, different things going on in the world.
So you find it actually also socially and emotionally nourishing as well to be in an investment club with like-minded people from similar backgrounds, different age ranges.
Definitely, especially the different age ranges, because I guess through them, I'm learning about like they're way ahead in their financial journey than I am. So, you know, I'm learning about like the power of their 401k, you know, the required monthly distribution. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Like, you know, once you get to a certain age,
required minimum distribution. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I might be convinced that, you know, this is a stock that we should buy, but then there will be someone else who will come with a different perspective. And I think it's great to have people who have, you know, different perspectives than you, because I may be a little bit more risk averse. Someone else will be more likely to take risks. So it's like a balanced way of investing.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, because an investment club, especially when you can get different perspectives, being willing to speak up and contribute, right, it does give a balanced approach. And I also like the point that you made about it being also an opportunity to share the workload. I think that in order to comfortably be in an investment club, you have to be willing to share. I'm just now getting comfortable with sharing, which is why I'm just now, after 25 years, I'm in an investment club, or really 20 years, I'm exaggerating. But yeah, you have to be willing to share. You have to be willing to, you know, put your money together with other people that you trust. You have to be willing to take a chance to trust. You
Right.
have to be willing to, share in your growth, and you have to be willing to share in the profits. It's kind of similar to being married. Like, you have to be willing, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. If it's not for you yet, it's not for you yet. I mean, because you can be a successful investor on your own, especially if you join Better Investing and learn the Better Investing way. I mean, the same principles of putting money together, doing it monthly, having a routine, investing regularly in the market, regardless of the market ups or downs. If you have the discipline individually to do that, then you, by all means, you could be like Warren Buffett, you'll be successful. But a lot of people don't have the discipline, and also need the support, and just feel more comfortable growing alongside others, wanting to have somebody to bounce ideas off us and stuff like that. So I think that's you made a point I hadn't really thought about, but it's a very valid point. The question I wanted to ask you though was, even let's say kind of coming over from Jamaica, and being in school, and you're on this kind of career path, because I think this is interesting when, a lot of people, I mean, you're different because you was exposed to the Jamaican market, and had the confidence to ask your mom, for the money she had been saving for you and willing to do it. But did you feel like you were more of a loner? Because I know that when I was much younger, I was hesitant in joining an investment club, but it seemed like when you came over, even though you were pursuing your studies, you seemed to kind of hop right into an investment club. So just wanted to see your personality. Was it because they already seemed successful, or maybe because you were doing it on your own first? What made you likely to join the investment club?
I think, well, for me, when I just moved, and I spent a lot of time talking to my granduncle, I guess he kind of told me, he didn't really tell me how successful the club was, but he told me the premise that the club was built upon. And it was a group of, working class adults who didn't know anything about investing. They realized that, hey, I'm getting older, and I need to make sure that when I'm retired, I have, a little, some amount of money. So for them, it was built on not so much profiting, but for learning purposes. So for me, I didn't go into the club with the intention of making money. Like, for me, I never ever look at, well, no, not never. I very rarely look at, how much I've contributed in the club, or like how much that is worth. Like, for me, the club is just for knowledge purposes. I just go in with an open mind to, just to learn. And I think why I really gravitated to the club is I was at a point where I wanted to know more, like, teach me more about investing. I was reading online, but I'd read different books, but I wanted to learn more. I was in search of that knowledge, and the club to me presented an opportunity to just learn more. So I would just go into meetings, and I'd be a fly on the wall. I'd be listening. There are terms that I've never heard about before. So, I'd make my little jottings, and then I'd go to Investopedia. And I'm like, all right, cool, cool. So I learned something new. So, and even now, I'm still off the mindset that I'm really just in there to learn, not so much to make money, because I think from the knowledge I gain from the Better Investing platform, from the members in the club, I'll be able to have, I have my own portfolio, and I'll better be able to manage my own portfolio individually. So as much as I'm in the club, I still invest by myself, and I'm learning how to manage a portfolio through also being in a club who has their own portfolio.
Wow. So let me ask this question. And before I do, let me check in with Miss Ann. Miss Ann, do you have anything?
Well, really just want to just share with our listeners the fact that we're talking with Mr. Matthew Green, and we had some people that came on a little later, and just a little bit about him after he learned about compound interest in college, you know, and his bank account rates and the difference in having your money work for you being a higher interest rate. Just want to share a little bit about his background. While his journey began on the Jamaican Stock Exchange, it really evolved after immigrating to the US 3 years ago and joining the Agbari Investment Club in South Florida. Currently, and this is a highlight, I want to say this highlight. Currently, Matthew serves as the club's assistant treasurer and a member of the portfolio and audit committees, aligned to his passion and interest in financial management. I share that because I think it's very interesting to have you be that involved so soon in the club. And for those who follow us, we want to just make sure you do understand that we are volunteers with Better Investing, and Better Investing was established in 1951 as a national 501c3 not-for-profit organization who has helped over 5 million people from all walks of life to become better investors. And we provide unbiased investment education and powerful online stock analysis tools to create successful lifelong investors. So I just wanted to share that information, Ione. We want to ask everybody to please follow us at Better Investing. We're on all the social media platforms, and continue to consider being on the show also. So back to you, Ione and Matthew. Thank you, Matthew, again for that backstory.
Yes, and you know, I try not to interrupt the guests because I get so excited whenever I interview somebody because sometimes they make points and I'm like, yes, I tried to tell somebody that the other day. Or they say something and I'm like, oh, dang, I ain't never thought about it like that. But one of the things I want to bring up that Miss Ann just brought up, and this is something I say sometimes when I do speeches, or especially when I talk to kids, that banking example that you started with, I don't know if everybody caught that, but that was a realization that I also made, you know, and it was just like, wait, what? Why am I gonna have my money sitting in a bank account and they're giving me less than 0.01% on my money, and then out the back door they're giving out loans, charging people 15, 20,
Right.
sometimes whatever it is, and they're making the spread on
There we go.
that?
Once I read,
No. I and then on top of that, when I found out that they also loan money to corporations and in the form of bonds, and
right.
so they're getting, you know, AAA rated bonds on my money. I could just be buying stock. I mean, why do I need the middleman? So I'm
Yeah,
so glad that on your own you brought that up, because it was such a like light bulb moment, you know. And I know a lot of people are concerned about liquidity and if your money's safe and this and that. And it's like the longer you invest in quality companies, the safer your money is. You know,
definitely.
the volatility comes when you jumping in and out and trying to time the market and all of that. But I mean, just owning stocks is going to pay you a dividend rate that's higher than the interest rate the bank is paying.
Definitely.
So by that alone, not even adding the capital appreciation that the stock price is gaining over time. I mean, I was just like, no. So I try to keep my bank account to a minimum, just enough to keep it open without fees, man. So
That's
anyway,
funny.
I just had to bring that back because I think that that's a really important lesson and a very clear motivating factor for people to want to do better for their money, you know, because it's like when you realize somebody ripping you off personally, you know what I mean?
Right.
It just makes you think like, well, if they saw the opportunity, why I can't, you know? But when it comes to a bank, people, I don't know, people don't respond like I respond. I just be
Oh,
like, no, that's your money, you know? Like, come on, don't you want more for your money? I don't know,
definitely.
but
I think even with say, paying someone to invest your money, so you pay them, but you could just learn to do it yourself and invest your own money. And I think for me, I like having the control of seeing what my money is doing. I don't want to just give my money to a company and I have no idea. I just know that they give me maybe like 7 or 8% at the end of the year. Like I want to be able to see where my money's going and be in control of that.
yeah, and you know, you make a really good point because I mean, but I think too, and there's a lot of times I think people wait, excuse me, to get confidence first before they do, and they don't realize you have to do a little bit first to gain the confidence, and then it
Definitely.
just becomes um a reinforcing cycle of do confidence results, do confidence results, you know, people waiting for the confidence. It's like you can't get it unless you know, put your toe in the water and try your hand at it and be willing to learn, and be willing to join a group like an investment club and learn together, or plug into better investing and be able to, you know, be willing to use the resources, which brings me to my next question. I recognize, especially in being in a model club and having taught the beginner investing class, and especially now that I work with a lot of adults, that people have different learning styles. So my question to
Right.
you is, based on, I mean, you've been probably a BI member for about 2 years now.
Right.
What have you noticed to be your learning style, and what are the BI resources that you're using? Because you have the online, you know, video learning library, you have the BI magazine, you know, you have a lot of different resources depending on if you're like a visual learner or audio learner, or then even doing the SSGs, you know. So what have been the tools that have been kind of your go-to on the betterinvesting.org website?
For me, what I've used the most is the SSG. I think that's definitely where I learn a lot from. When I just joined the club and joined Better Investing, I didn't really have an idea of, using the SSG, but I was partnered with my granduncle who kind of he showed me the ropes. And for me, I will use the SSG. Some of it is judgment. So for me, through doing it more and more, I kind of built up my judgment, as well as in the club, whenever we're assigned a stock, quarterly we are asked to present like a report on a stock. So even just looking at how other people do their SSG, it kind of helps me to, I guess, better understand, what to do, what to look at, important things to look at. And there are things that I would miss that through being in the club, I was able to realize. The other thing that I've used a lot is the better investing, I'm sorry, I can't remember. The magazine. Like I read the magazine a whole lot. I definitely read the magazine.
What sections do you like? I like the book value. I like the repair shop. So do you remember which sections of the magazine that you like?
To be honest, like normally I just try to read it like cover to cover, or I just flip
Okay.
and kind of see the different things that they're
Okay,
talking about.
which catch your eye. Hmm.
yeah, especially if they are explaining or, you know, doing an in-depth analysis of a particular stock, then I'll read that to say, you know, is this like a stock that the club should consider? So definitely.
What's been one of the last stocks that you took from the magazine and brought to the club, or even read in the magazine that you learned something, just so that the people can get a sense of what specifically you're learning from the magazine? Any one thing.
To be honest, I can't remember an exact stock because I'm currently out of the country, so I haven't read the magazine in a month or two. But I can't remember a specific stock. But I guess just being able to read how the stock is being analyzed and paying attention to what's important, you know, paying attention to the things mentioned, and I use that to kind of inform the things I look at in our stock. Like if, you know, the next stock I'm analyzing, will I really focus on the debt, sorry, the what you call it, the debt to capital ratio.
Debt capital ratio, okay.
You know, the PE, I look at I guess how the PE of a particular company compares to other companies in the industry. And actually, Danica just messaged me and she said the last stock I recommended was Next Era.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you got some help from one of your club members. She don't want to see you fail in this interview. Well, and so for some people that don't know, Next Era is FPL. We're here in South Florida, and so our Florida Power and Light is actually, I think, almost probably ranked number one in terms of being an electrical company. When I recently did some research on Duke Energy, I realized that Duke Energy was one of four, but Next Era FPL was like ranked one. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that. And I think their stock price, and Danica could probably chime in, but their stock price may be somewhere in the 100, 200, or 100, $300 range.
I think it's around like 300.
Okay. I knew it was high. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Do you remember if the club ended up buying any based on you
No,
suggesting it?
we haven't. We
Okay.
haven't.
Okay. Cool.
Not as yet. No, we haven't.
Okay. So I do want to ask this quick technical question. I like to anybody that's new, I like to kind of test their knowledge. So don't feel too intimidated, but I just want to check you just right quick. So from what you've learned in being an investment club and being a member of BI, how do you like to analyze a stock? What are some of the things that you're specifically looking for, that you, when a stock has these things, it reads as valuable or as growth, or as like you ready to probably make the next step?
All right. So for me, before I guess like really going in depth with a company, I will look at the graph, see how the stock has performed over the years. Afterwards, I will look at the PE, see you know, like what the PE is. Afterwards, so I kind of go through all the tabs on Yahoo Finance. I kind of use Yahoo Finance a whole lot. So, you know, I would look at the PE, then I would look at their revenue, their earnings. I look at their finances. I definitely pay attention to their debt to capital ratio, especially more so right now. And I guess for me, afterwards, you know, once I look at those things, if it still stands out to me, then I try to do and, you know, like go in depth, like read a bit more articles, see. Oh, I definitely look at how the company has been growing. I think for the most part, like I say I'm a growth investor, so I look at, you know, how the company is growing right now. And yeah, I think those are the things I look at for the most part. Depending on what sector the company is in right now, I look at what are they working on, you know, what's in the pipeline. So yeah, I think that's how I started out.
And do you made me remember the value line. Do you look at the value line?
No, no, no.
Okay, okay. Because when we research stocks, we pull up the value line from the library, and there's a little written section right in the middle of the page, which and then at the bottom of the page, it talks about some of the upcoming products or services that a company may have in its pipeline. So I was just, but you're using Yahoo Finance too, so you could probably get it from there.
Yeah, and also through Charles Schwab, they have like a lot of reports. So they'll post like Morningstar reports, the CFRA reports. So I'll definitely read through. I think that's like my next step. So I'll read through the reports, and from there, I'll kind of make a decision of, is this something that I would look even deeper into?
Right, right. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because on Better Investing, especially the SSG Plus, when you go to the resources tab, you can go over to Morningstar and Zacks and Yahoo
Right.
Finance and just other resources that help give a in-depth commentary from analysts, or even financial report viewing industry ratios and stuff like that. So that's cool to be able to navigate to those sites right from the SSG Plus.
Excuse
Yes.
We want to make sure that we share with the audience what that acronym means, because a lot of people are sitting there wondering. Plus, we also have a question from Carol.
Sure. Yes, I see that. So SSG stands for Stock Selection Guide, and it's a tool we use at Better Investing to do an in-depth uh, 5 to 10 year financial analysis of the company. And so the SSG literally allows us to see a graphical representation of the income statements and the balance sheets for the company, so that we can see if how profitable the company is, at what growth rate is it growing, and it just allows us to answer a lot of questions visually, um, graphically, instead of just kind of looking at numbers and trying to piece it together. So one of the questions we have for you, Matthew, is do you plan on retiring at an early age and living on your investments? I know you're only 25, but the people want to know, Matthew. Got to tell the people.
I think yeah, I mean, I guess even before I started investing, I had decided that I want to be able to retire for working for someone at the age of 50.
That's a
And
nice number.
yeah, so I have 25 years to make it happen. But yeah,
If you grow your personal portfolio like Akbar's portfolio, you'll get there.
I just might be able to, yeah.
Okay, and one more thing, I because somebody brought up something to me earlier in the show when we were talking more specifically about investment clubs, and I want to bring this to light, because this is, I think, a serious matter, and that's why we promote the better investing community so heavily, because just the same reason Matthew decided to join Akbar, because they were focused on education more than just making money. That's what leads Better Investing. Again, we're a national nonprofit that focuses on investment education for individuals and investment clubs. And you have to know that you can create all an investment club is a collection of people putting money together to invest in anything. It could be real estate, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could be a mixture of things. But investment club is a collection of people that come together, that put money together to invest a certain way. Now, the reason this is important is because some people have very bad experiences in investment clubs, right? They join an investment club because they want to learn, they're inexperienced, they're willing to trust. But if your investment club is not tied to the right organization, or you don't have the right foundation, it's not uncommon that whoever brought you to the club may profit off of you. Somebody that knows the most in the club may take advantage of other members. And so I think it's a real concern of people about safety, right? And so one of the things that a lot of people may not know about better investing is that better investing actually provides and has a relationship with an insurance company to provide insurance for the club. So number one, the club has to be a better investing paid investment club member. And so you can, go onto betterinvesting.org and check out investment clubs and find the information there. But once you are a better investment club, once you're a better investing investment club, right? The club is a member, all of the individual partners are members of Better Investing. You can buy insurance for the club. And this insurance, I mean, it's really low. It's very affordable, and it's based on the total account value of the club. But if you get insurance on the club's portfolio, then if anything happens to the money, somebody walked away with it, the treasurer ran away with it, just anything, if you got, you would be insured. And so I think that that's an important thing for people to know. I know we talk about the benefits and the upsides, but the great thing about the SSG and about better investing is that we always look at the downside. What's the worst that can happen, right, Matthew? When you're doing your upside downside ratio,
Right.
we're not just looking at how high a stock can go, we're also looking at how low can it go. Because if we determine that it can go low, then we may decide to wait, right, to invest in that company when it has dropped down to
A reasonable.
exactly a reasonable price, right? And so I think one of the questions is insured up to what? Definitely over $1 million, right? So they have, different levels, $1,000, a couple $1,000, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, past $1 million. But you can definitely reach out to Better Investing and ask all of those questions. Well, they're closed tomorrow, with tomorrow being Thanksgiving, but call them. You can email them, and they will, within a few business days, they will be able to answer all of the questions that you have. There is another question, really quick, asking about what age can someone become a Better Investing member? And there is no minimum. I became a paid Better Investing member at the age of 12. At that time, they had a youth membership, and that was 20 years ago. So that tells you how old I am. Anyway, right now I'm working with BI to bring back a youth membership. But anybody that's young, you could just, I would suggest getting the individual plus or the individual core membership, and just get started. You're already listening in to this podcast. You can go on to betterinvesting.org and check out the chapter near you. We're all members of the South Florida chapter, but there are people listening in. Somebody's in Boston, some other people are in Jamaica, are in Maryland, are in Texas, and there are chapters all across the country. And a lot of our programming now is online. So another quick question we have for you, Matthew, is what's next for you? Whether it be career plans, life plans, investment plans. Somebody asked, what's next for you in the future, Matthew?
I guess for investment plans, the first thing would, I guess, just to continue to learn more about investing. For the most part, like I'll focus on growth stocks. Eventually, I want to move into learning a bit more about like dividend investing, and I guess just the whole financial space. Yeah, definitely. Career-wise, I have a master's in organizational psychology, so I tend to move into organizational development once I return from Jamaica, and I'm also trying to learn more about like different investment avenues, not just stocks, but I guess after I learn some more about stocks, I'm moving to learning about bonds, learning about like real estate investing, or even just like doing options trading. But for the most part, like I'm a long-term investor, but I'm just interested in learning more.
Excellent. Now, there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you're prepared to answer this, but somebody asked, if not, just let me know. If somebody asked, what's the difference between growth stock and dividend stock?
So a growth stock is a company that I guess is, simplified, growing at a very quick rate. Dividend stocks tend to be a bit more stable and they pay you a dividend. Like it's a small percent of the company's profit quarterly. So in investing in dividend stocks, I know of someone actually who is retired now, and he said, my dividends is my pension. He's been investing for a long time and his dividends funds his life now. So he looks forward to, a check every quarter, and that kind of funds his life. So with dividend investing, they tend to be more stable company, I guess kind of tried and true, growing at like a slower rate, whereas the growth stocks, they're also, they're growing at a much quicker rate. They can be a little bit.
I think you put that beautifully, Matthew. Excellent, excellent. I couldn't have did it better myself. So one of the questions I have for you is, do you have any book recommendations? I don't know if you only kind of been reading BI magazines, but was there any book, maybe financial book, investing book that you read that you want to share with people, that you recommend to other people?
The first investment book that I read, I think it would be very good for like young investors. It's called Charles Schwab's Guide to Financial Independence. That was the first one I read.
Excellent.
And through that, it helped me to, I guess, figure out what kind of investor am I, like how risky am I willing to be? And I guess for some people joining or starting out investing, they may be worried that, hey, I don't want to invest this money and, the company goes down and I lose all my money. And so some people are a bit more risk averse. So reading that book kind of told me that I guess there are different types of investment for each person. Like you can kind of learn about investing and figure out what suits you best. It might be investing in bonds, it might be investing in certain types of stocks, but I think that definitely helped me to figure out what kind of investor I want to be, and made me a bit more comfortable with the idea that, well, the money isn't in the bank. With it being in the bank, it's safe. Minus the fees that you're charged, but it's safe for the most part. Versus like moving to investing it in a stock and seeing the stock go down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But I think that book kind of helped me to realize that you can choose like how risky you want to be in investing, and also that it's okay if the stock goes down. If you're a long-term investor, then well, it will go back up eventually. I mean, depending on the fundamentals, but it'll go back up eventually.
You could teach a class, Matthew. I'm gonna have to talk to you about replacing me. Ooh, I like that.
Other than that book, I've been using Investopedia a whole lot.
Oh, great resource, man.
Really, really, really good. You might hear different terms and you might have no understanding what they are, but you can go to Investopedia, and I think they also have free classes as well, or free newsletters. So they'll send you like an email every week, and it'll tell you about things going on in the market. It will also tell you about different investment terms. So I think that's a good resource. And also, I use the Motley Fool. They have a podcast every week. Well, there's a weekly podcast and there's a daily podcast. And I guess over time, through listening to them, I have a better understanding of the, what you should focus on in a company.
Man, gems. I don't have anything else to say, Matthew. You swept me away, man. The shout out this week goes to Danica because she put me in contact with Matthew, and clearly the rest is history. So thank you, Danica. I know you're busy, but it's been a long time coming, and I'm so glad that you shared Matthew Green with us tonight, because I mean, for him to be 25 and have come to America from Jamaica, killing the game, showing the young folks how it's done, showing the old folks how it's done. I know the Akbar Investment Club is loving you, right? Because they're like, oh, great, somebody to continue our legacy. We're in good hands. Do they feel that way about you?
No, definitely, and I think that's kind of why they recommended me to do it, because so when I first heard about it, to be honest, I kind of tried to get out of it. So I was like, well, my investment journey just started, so I don't have much to say. But then Danica was like, well, that's exactly what they want, like everyday investors. So then the whole club kind of pushed me into doing it. So, I kind of backed myself into a corner. But I think it's definitely good having younger members in the club, especially with, a lot of the older members in the club. Some are, hoping to retire from the club and have younger members take over. So it's definitely been an interesting experience, and I've been learning a whole lot from them.
Yeah, and I will say this too, and you can chime in, Matthew. One of the things that has drawn me to BI and kept me so close to BI is that through all of my years, all of the older people that I've met have always been so warm, encouraging, supportive, and just how do you I forget the word, but reinforcing how wealthy too, but reinforcing how important it is for me to get started at my age. Have you found that to be true too, with Akbar? And
Most definitely, especially since while I'm in the US, I live with a member in the Akbar Club.
Exactly.
He's always told me the importance of investing, and um, setting aside money to invest every month, and not only just with me, but I've seen him go around to other young people, my own friends that will come to visit. He will introduce them to investment. He'd go as far as to show them his portfolio and be like, I started this X amount of years ago, and look where I am at. You could be here if you did the same. And even just my first meeting in the club, they're very receptive to me being there and just kind of teaching me. If I had a question, then there's no issue to answer. So yeah.
I love it. And yes, the word is welcoming. They're always so welcoming, and it's just so encouraging. So with that, do you have any last words for the people, Matthew? Because I took all of your words as last as last words, man. You've been on it, man.
I guess my last words for anyone is, if you've been contemplating investing, then there is no perfect time to start. Just start. You can start small. If you don't know too much, you can maybe buy like a ETF, like SPY, QQQ. You can kind of just look at, or even just a small stock. You watch how it performs, and in owning a company, you're kind of, if you really want to I guess to have like a great investment, you have to learn more about your investing. You have to figure out, what am I putting my money into? So you go towards looking at the PE. You might even go towards like reading the quarterly reports. I mean, some of them might be a little heavy, but just in watching the stock and starting, like, you learn more over time. And I guess always think long term. You have to like build your temperament. You might see the stock go down today, but once you focus on the fundamentals in the company, then you're almost safe. Of course, you're still monitoring the company, but don't be intimidated by taking losses. And often your losses are lessons, because I sure have lost some money recently, but they're lessons for me. So yeah.
And you don't lose until you sell. So that's a reminder for some people.
There we go.
It's all on paper. So
Definitely.
again, thank you so much, Matthew.
Thank you for having
The
me.
chat room is going wild for you, man. Everybody is commenting on how much they learned from you and how much they've enjoyed you tonight. And I enjoyed you. I mean, you are definitely an inspiration. You've been in the club longer than I've been in the club, so I learned some things from you tonight. And
Thank you.
again, to Michelle, to Ann Newman, to some new guests we had tonight. I invited some new people to come in and listen live to you, Matthew. And of course, again, Danica, Marie, thank you so much. We will catch up hopefully over the holidays, but thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing Matthew and just sharing somebody from the Akbar Investment Club, because they really are a gem and they keep to themselves. So I want the people to know how hard it was to get a coveted member of the Akbar Investment Club. But again, Matthew, thank you so much for being willing, because I'm going to share your episode with a lot of other young people, especially, some guys I'm working with from the Bahamas and from the other islands that kind of coming over and they want to invest, but need help navigating. And so that's why it's been a gem to have you on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Miss Ann?
Yes, ma'am. We just want to remind everybody also that we are hosting a financial empowerment annual meeting. That's the details are here. It's going to be on May 15th, 2021. 2021 at the Westin Dallas Park, Central in Dallas, Texas. And we are encouraging all of you, connect with us on our Facebook page at Better Investing Southeast Florida chapter. You can go North Florida. There's lots of places near you that you can connect with this information. So we want to also encourage you to comment, like, and share this. We're volunteers with Better Investing, Ione and I, and Ione's being very humble, but she's the youngest person in the history of the organization to now be
Wow.
voted in as a board member, a national board member. So she's not going to say very much about that, but I think we would be remiss if we did not recognize greatness in our midst. So thank you so much, Ione, for all that you do and all that you give. And Matthew, she is absolutely right. You've been a phenomenal guest. And I think you also now can see the value in starting early yourself. And we had a conversation before the show started when I shared with you, Matthew, that there are people who will only hear your voice. And that's why Ione's perked up and very excited, because you're both peers and the rest of us are twice your age. And
Right.
so many people can say, oh, I wish I would have, could have, should have, but I didn't start early. But you help everybody remember you can start right now today.
Right.
60, 70, 80 years old, you can start right now today. And so we
Definitely.
want to thank you again. Want to remind everybody that we are volunteers with Better Investing. And this is hashtag My Investing Story. We're here every week bringing you another awesome guest, and it gets better and better and better. So, everybody, thank you. And we will see all of you next week. Same place, same time on this show. And Matthew, please come back again and participate with us. All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night.